I have you now.
They want to mess with my droid. They're going to pay for it.
This is the way.
You may fire when ready.
Blow that piece of junk out of the sky!
The way you're fighting, you wouldn't have lasted long.
Hello there.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
We are back to video games this week as we are reviewing the latest entry of a video game into the Star Wars universe, Star Wars Hunters. This hero shooter game has been out for years in some parts of the world, but here in the good old US of A, it's only been out for 2 months, dropping during the heat of the Acolyte, so it was impossible for us to get to it and to review it until now. So this game is canon, not that it has much of a story or anything to do with canon, but it's a canon entry into the Star Wars universe, and it's of a new blood sport battle arena that they have in the Star Wars galaxy, and it's broadcast across the galaxy, so you're playing in these games as competitors. The game is free, and for free it offers a mountain of content. Not all of it good, but it offers a mountain of content nonetheless because it's been built up over 3 years of public access in other countries. So we finally sat down and we put a few hours into this game to give our honest thoughts. And spoiler alert on those thoughts, this may be the only hours we ever put into this game.
Yeah, it could be.
And so now we're gonna get right in front of this and say, you know, we're experienced at reviewing Star Wars. We're experienced at reviewing Star Wars video games and video games in general. Our very first episode, in fact, was reviewing Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. But neither of us are experienced mobile game reviewers or even experienced hero shooter players. I've never put a single minute into Overwatch 1 or 2 or Valorant or any other game like that. But I'm familiar with them, and I'm very familiar with Star Wars. And so is my co-host, the medic Moncal himself, Colin Archer.
Hey, yeah, I played this game quite a little bit, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
I'm not going to pick it up. You know, there's a lot of microtransactions. They hit you just hard and fast right at the start. But you don't need to do that. You can play it a bunch right out the gate. And it's not bad either.
And it doesn't seem like a pay-to-win kind of microtransactions because there's ways to unlock all the characters in-game. And I have no idea what the meta is. I don't know what characters are good. I do know that it seems like you can get those characters without paying for them monetarily.
Yeah, you can just pay for them right at the front. They're not cheap.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, they're like $10 a character or something like that. Yeah. So we should start the episode off by talking about what Star Wars Hunters is. So it's a mobile game, and it's a hero shooter. And so think Overwatch, think Valorant, it's all of those. But this is mobile almost exclusive. It's exclusive to your phone and the Nintendo Switch. I've heard it's really, really bad on the Nintendo Switch from a couple different reviewers. I don't have a Switch. I don't know if it's very bad on the Switch or not.
I didn't play it on my Switch. I play... Funny enough, on my Android phone, it wouldn't allow to be downloaded. It didn't even show up as available. And then so I had to find like my wife's old iPhone and play it on that.
Right.
So I mean, they call it a mobile game, but it's not on all the mobile devices. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, which is really strange, especially since it released in other non-Western countries first, where a lot of users have Android phones. So it's really curious that that's the case.
I'm not going to research why. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's definitely not worth the time. So the game was first announced in 2018 as under development by Zynga, and then it soft launched in many countries, most notably India, in November of 2021. So 3 years from announcement of development to launch, but a soft launch because it was wait and wait and wait in most Western countries. Over the next 3 years, it was just slowly rolled out to different countries where mobile games are a big part of their gaming market. And then finally, in June of this year, it was released in the United States and around the world.
Yeah, and if you ask me, it looks like that waiting paid off. Because I can't imagine at the first start of even a soft launch that they had all that many maps and many characters.
I think it was 5 or 6 characters, which is bare bones for this game.
There's like 15.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't even know if I got through all the maps. I played 5 or 6 matches, And the maps look amazing.
Yeah, they do. The
a
maps are
mobile game.
one of the biggest highlights of the game, certainly. And I bet because I only got to this map when I played ranked play, you missed what would be your favorite map. We'll talk about here in a bit.
Okay.
So, like we said, it released in June, and this release coincided with the Acolyte. And so that's why we are getting to the game late. We had all of the Acolyte to talk about. We had a book to talk about during that time. And so it was really... And then we could have done it last week, and we just needed to make sure that we had played it enough to where we could give an opinion on it. And so now we've got it under our belt, and like I said, we don't have a ton of experience reviewing mobile games, but we're going to work through it like we would any other video game. And so I want to talk about the interface first, because that seems like the most important part for us to get through at the very beginning.
There, for the interface, as far as like the actual controls and stuff, I found them actually really intuitive. The main screens were kind of cluttered, because there's so many different offers and, buy the battle pass, and buy this character, and buy this upgrade, and buy this.
You're hammered with ads every click.
You need jewels. You need this. I didn't get any ads.
Well, in-game ads. I mean, to get the currency, to get the skin, microtransaction ads. Yeah, not advertisements for
And then as you play the game, you're just nailed with it. Also, you unlock this one thing, and if you spend a jewel on it, you can get another little bonus. And I'm sure there was some level that you could watch a literal ad, but it just wasn't apparent to me. There wanted you to spend the cash on the game in there. But the actual gameplay interface was really cool. It felt really intuitive. I come from a mouse and keyboard, and so like this playing mobile games is real like far off in the distance for me. And I say that, but I play a different mobile game constantly. So this one, like I didn't think it could be done on a mobile interface. And it could. It was actually pretty intuitive and fun.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, you had a full range of abilities. Your character had like 3 or 4 abilities. You had a refresh button. You had your movement, and you had your shoot. It was interesting because one of the things that is always, to me, in these games most important is how are you going to be able to shoot and do different things. And this game solves that pretty easily with wherever you're aiming, you're just firing. If it's at an enemy, it's just going to start shooting at whatever speed your shots are going to go off at. And so that was one of the best parts. And so, yeah, like you said, I think that the handheld style of that and the way that they placed the buttons on the interface was really good at the beginning. I sometimes found myself not being able to switch between abilities fast enough. I don't know if that was a me problem or if that was just I have life-saving abilities on some characters that I could not pop off fast enough.
Right. I think that's just a learned thing. And where the difference between the really good player, like it took me like 3 or 4 matches, like, oh yeah, I can jump.
Yeah.
Right. And, but it wasn't necessary. Usually we're just dunking on the other players so fast, jumping didn't matter. But yeah, the difference between a new player and a seasoned player, or even at the top level, somebody who's going to be okay at the game and somebody who's just going to destroy everybody, is how fast you can pop those abilities off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think with some time and a little bit of effort to learn the interface, it's going to be pretty easy to figure out.
I think so. So another part of the interface that is maybe my biggest complaint is that I really wanted to see how a controller would do with this game, because there's a lot of mobile games that you can hook up an Xbox controller to your iPhone and play with. And so I tried to figure that out. I read like 3 different articles on how to do it, watched a video on how to do it, and the button to do it was not there on my screen. And I don't really understand what I needed to do to get it there, but that was a disappointment. I was really interested in trying out the Xbox controller on there.
I bet you need to update the firmware on your controller, some silly nonsense like that.
Yeah.
That's what it always is. One of the biggest laments of that software development when it comes to games is, you can make it for iPhone and Android. It sounds that simple when you say it like that. But the reality is you got to make it all the way down to an iPhone 11 or something like that. And you got to keep up with the new iPhones coming out. And that's just Apple. There's 500 times that many Androids.
Right. Yeah, no, that's an important
and then you throw
consideration.
controllers into the mix. Think about it. It's like a factorial problem set.
Yeah,
crazy.
It is. I'm sure. Yeah, and like you said, there has to have been a way to figure it out. But it's not like this game, also by virtue of being a mobile game, just has a whole lot of coverage on people on how to do this. Like if I had some problem on Call of Duty, for example, there would be 100 YouTube videos about my exact problem that would tell me what to do. But for this game, I mean, it's few and far between on resources on how to do that.
Even though hundreds of thousands of people have played this game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be hard.
So you mentioned earlier the microtransactions popping up. Another thing that I think about the interface is that you run through the tutorial pretty fast in this, and there's a lot of different buttons and different lobbies that you can enter for the shop and the costumes and the this and the that, and none of that felt intuitive to me at all, really. I mean, they have the labels there, but it's labels that are vague, like events or things like, or arena or things like that, where you're like, do I go to the arena to play the game? Like there were many sections of that I thought were too vague.
See, I've played enough games in general where, and I feel like some of that stuff is intuitive. Where I found the more problem was like it wants you to click on the arena pass. I'm like, I know what an arena pass is. I don't give a shit about that. Let me click off of this so I can pick this character that I want to play. One thing that was really cool was there are certain characters you could try out, and you could go to a trainer room and try the characters out.
Yeah.
And you couldn't. There's some you couldn't though. Like they had the K2SO type Imperial droid with these big shields for arms. I mean, that character's fun to play, but you had to unlock the battle pass.
Yeah, he's this month's battle pass character. Yeah. And so you're right. You wouldn't be able to play him just yet. So the shop also is like Fortnite sized on how many things you can buy, and so I also felt like scrolling forever was a little bit of a chore. I mean, if you wanted to see everything in the store, I felt like I was scrolling for 3 minutes straight, just like, looking at all of that stuff. It was a lot.
There wasn't that one skin to grab you, right? And it's like, I got to have this $10, $12. Here you go.
Exactly. And there were a couple of those. I found a skin for the Jedi character, J3DI. I loved it. It was super cool. I didn't get it. I don't even have the character unlocked for him, but it was super cool.
Yeah. I almost bought that battle pass. I'm like, man, $7, that's nothing.
Right.
Man, play with this droid, that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be cool. So I only played in teams with him, and he was cool. He was really good. I mean, I would just stay. I was the starter character. Amara Vex was who I liked the most out of all the characters that I unlocked. And so in the 2 matches I played with that K2SO droid, I just followed him around. And then he'd make his shield, and I'd just sit there and shoot behind him the whole time.
Knock people down.
Yeah, it was great.
I played the Imperial guy with the chain
the Gatling gun. Yeah.
Dude, it was fun. I mean, it felt to me like anybody that I came across, unless they got the jump on me, even one J3DI character who did, I was able to turn around, butt him with the barrel of that thing in the special ability and just lay him down.
Yeah.
Well, it was crazy.
We've kind of moved on to gameplay here.
Sorry.
And one of the no, that's a good thing, because that's our next topic is gameplay specifically. And so like that character, I felt like he was great, because any of the characters with a stun ability, they took away your ultimate. I would be Amara Vex ready to do my little rocket shot or whatever, and immediately that stormtrooper would come around the corner and just stun me, or the Wookiee Graz would just come around the corner, and it deletes all the work you've done building up energy for that ultimate.
That's the only time I died, was that Wookiee would charge me and stun me, and then I just get dogpiled at that point. It was crazy. But
Sentinel is his name. Sentinel is the stormtrooper.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, being able to shoot across the map, I mean, because you just see where your friendlies are engaged, and you just put your little cursor, navigate over them, and then stuff dies. Yep. It was easy to get kills.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was the level I was playing at, but it was fun.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, no, I'm sure that part of it was just that character, though. And then you have that shield that's really defensive.
Yep.
That's one of the things I enjoy the most out of most video game characters is mobility. And that's why I chose Amara Vex. Was not only was she just good at shooting, but move all around the map with that grappling hook. I mean, I could grapple. And when you get to some of the maps where they have the jump paths, I mean, it was ridiculous. I felt like Spider-Man the whole time. It was great.
Yeah, was it Kashyyyk or the Ewok Village?
Ewok Village.
Yeah, where the platforms are everywhere. a person who's good at that character just dominate everything.
Yes,
It's not
yeah.
even not
well,
even
there's like
chance.
there's like a great sniper perch that people have to climb up to get to, and you can immediately see them coming.
Okay.
And so I would once I figured that out after like 2 games, that was all I did was grappling hook, jump pad, and then I'm standing on that sniper perch and just ripping my scoped in shot into anybody that
dominate
walks by.
all the kills.
Yeah, it was really really easy.
That sounds fun.
So in gameplay, like the first 4 levels that you get as a player, your player level are like super quick matchmaking. They're all people with no usernames. They're like Jedi _ a billion random letters and numbers. And they are pretty easy because they're all noobs, like you're articulating. I mean, there are people that like typed Star Wars into the search bar of the App Store, downloaded this, and then just got demolished as soon as they stepped into the arena. Because the first 4 levels of that are just that kind of matchmaking. As soon as I reached level 5, I was playing with high level players. Like I got 360 no scoped by some guy playing a sniper character that was like level 50 something.
Oh my god.
Yes, yeah. And I was in casual mode when that happened.
That's kind of wild, just being dunked on that hard like that.
Yeah, oh, it was crazy. I mean, I lost 3 games, I think, total out of probably the 20-ish games that I played of this, and the 3 I lost, we got like stomped on hard. It was like, I think people who were teams that they knew what they were doing.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was. And like that's one of the point is like any other game, but especially like hero shooter games, there are going to be sweaty people, and there is a meta, and we do not know it.
Yeah, I could. It would be easy to get lost in this game because there's 15 characters. You got to level all of them up. You have the different abilities to level up, and figuring out the cool combos with your teammates is very intriguing and a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's an important element to it is being able to unlock at least a small host of characters and being comfortable with 2 characters at least, because it's also just like any other hero game. Someone can come in and steal your main. I mean, if they select that character first, now you've got to have a backup. I didn't have a backup basically ever, and so I was like boxed into playing the Wookiee one time. We got steamrolled because I did not know what I was doing. I had no idea.
What does that do?
Yeah, I'm like sitting there just button mashing on my phone.
The alternative though is like that's us. Think of somebody who really likes that Wookiee. And they're just sitting there dominating everybody, knocking them over, absorbing all the hits while the other people clean up. I bet it's a fun strategy.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it is. I can totally see. He had the one game I played with him. He had that heal ability that was just constant, and the game mode I was playing was Call of Duty Domination. I don't know what it was actually called in this game, but where you stand on the points, and if you control 2 of the 3 points, you're gaining percentage. And so I just did that. I just triggered that ability the second I saw an enemy and stood on objective and hid behind something until they had to come get in close combat. And then I just ground pounded. And then if it was one of the weaker, like ranged characters, dead immediately. Yeah. And if it was one of the bruiser characters, they still were caught off guard. It was very fun. It was a cool mechanic for sure. So I can see how the tankiness with him would be good. And then once I reached level 6, I started playing ranked play. And Amara Vex being a DPS character, I was really a lot better at team deathmatch mode. Okay. Like the hold points mode was nowhere near as good for her because she has to stand places where a melee character's gonna run up. Like the bane of my existence was the Sith girl. Yeah. She would run up and slice me in half anytime she was on the board. I had to know where she is at all times.
They had the special charged up or something and deflecting all the bolts. That was cool. Yeah. The Jedi characters are really neat.
Yeah, they are cool. They're very cool. And then the like I said, there's a few other game modes. There's one called Huttball, which used to be a game in Knights of the Old Republic that's been like revived for this. I didn't get to play that. The only 2 modes that I made it to were the team deathmatch and the domination.
I played Huttball back in Star Wars, the MMO. SWTOR.
Galaxies? No. Oh, SWTOR. Gotcha.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, I bet it. What is it?
Soccer.
Okay. All right.
It's like a 3D plane type thing. You got different platforms and stuff.
Oh, so it's like Rocket League. Oh, no, but it's on platforms?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
You jump from platform to platform.
Gotcha. Okay.
And kill the other people. Soccer with guns. There you go.
Okay, cool.
3D,
well, then that would be fun. Yeah,
guns,
so that's one of the modes they have. That kind of makes me want to unlock that mode. But no telling how far off I am from unlocking that mode.
It's a lot more challenging because it's got that not only got to worry about killing people, but you need to get the ball on the goal. And so, you got to have your teammates on board, because there are people who only focus on the ball and die all the time, or there are people who are only focused on killing and just let the score run up.
Right.
And it's no fun in those cases.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. The one other thing I want to talk about, this is kind of gameplay, kind of UI together, is that there are two kinds of XP and two kinds of in-game currency that were somewhat confusing. The two kinds of in-game currency, much less so. That is a very standard mobile game practice, is you have the currency you earn in-game, and then you have the currency that you pay for with money. And so this worsened the tutorial specifically, though, because it kind of rushes you through all of the shops and everything else, and it's like, buy this, buy that, and I have no idea what I'm spending on what.
Yeah,
if I need to go back and do this, I'm just going to have to teach myself.
Well, there's a decent probability that you could accidentally buy something.
Yeah, well, that's maybe what they want. That's kind of how a lot of predatory mobile games work.
And I seriously doubt they give you a refund.
I highly doubt they'd give you a refund. But I mean, yeah. And I think that sometimes, they used to have those big problems where, like, kids would spend thousands of dollars on credit cards on Clash of Clans on their mom's phone, and the mom would call and be like, hey, what do I do? And, like, they've got to have just some kind of threshold internally where they're like, we will refund this money.
Yeah, I mean, there's consumer protection laws, that surely exist. I have no idea what they are. My kids don't have tablets with access to credit cards.
Right.
So it's easy to guard against, but at the same time, there are ads out there. It's like, yeah, go get your mom's credit card, punch the numbers in, and I don't blame a child for being susceptible to that stuff.
Yeah, it's very easy. It seems totally innocent. Yeah, they don't understand how money works sometimes, depending on their age.
And another thing, I remember from the contract law in college, a child can't enter into a contract. And so, if a child makes that purchase, it should be instantly refundable.
Right.
But all the company has to do is say, well, I don't know who made that purchase.
Yep.
Came from your phone under your account to your credit card.
Yeah,
so
we don't. Yeah, you also don't issue credit cards to kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So that's. Do you have anything more to say on the gameplay?
Oh, well, I was going to say the thing that popped in my head. To guard against that, go buy the preloaded cards. And put $20 on that. Because that's the way games are nowadays. I buy my kids Robux. If they really cared about this game and they wanted their special skin about whatever, I don't think it's that big a deal. As make them do a chore or something, clean up the yard, and let them. This game is offered for free. You can just run it all day long or till your energy runs out or whatever. But these developers made an awesome looking game with some awesome characters. Give them $10 here and there. And it's not a big deal.
No. Yeah, it's a ton of content for a free game. This is a free game, and that's like the biggest highlight is that there's a bunch here.
Yeah.
And you could, if you wanted to, you could spend hours and hours and hours and never spend a dime. But you could totally spend just a few dollars and get whatever skin you were interested in.
I guess. What else we got to talk about here? Yeah. So the characters are just way cool. There's a Mando here. There's the two different Jedi style characters.
It's anything you, as a Star Wars fan, like you really, really care about this niche, they've got a character for it.
Yeah.
Like we've got a buddy who we play with, Brian, who really likes Tatooine. Like he's a New Hope guy. He's a big Tatooine guy, and he's a big like kind of funny things in Star Wars guy. I know his main character would be Utini the two Jawas stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, that's a clever character. Gosh. And I just remember being flummoxed by how many different characters there were. I mean, pretty much if you said, oh, does it have this? Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some aspect about these different characters that encompass that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they even had like a Cassian Andor stand-in with Diago.
Yeah. Yep.
Like they had, again, if you have a part of Star Wars that you're super interested in, it exists in this game.
So I want to bring that up. How big of a deal do you think this game would be more popular if it were like Obi-Wan and Darth Maul and actual named characters in this, or are you fine with it being like stand-in characters?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be more popular, but I think that Star Wars and Lucasfilm specifically are really obsessed with the canonicity of everything that they publish and making most anything they can canon. And so they didn't want to have to make some kind of excuse on why Obi-Wan and Kylo Ren exist in the same game.
Okay.
And so
That's a good point.
Like, I think that was the main reason they didn't go with those main licensed characters. But also, I don't know. I think it would be more generally successful. But if you like, this is more about the game. To me, the characters, whether they are official Star Wars IP characters or these are official Star Wars IP characters also, but long-standing legacy characters or these brand new characters, you've still got to like the game to stick around. Like, there's no... Yeah. If Obi-Wan and Darth Maul were in this, I might have stuck around longer. But I mean, I'm not going to play this game routinely or consistently ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if those characters being in there draws anybody. If you really like the hero shooter genre, and you like Star Wars, then I don't know if it matters what the characters are, because you're getting Obi-Wan with J3DI.
Yeah, you are. One thing that occurred to me that I should have talked about, the character that gave me the most trouble and probably one of the coolest looking characters was I think it was an Ugnaught and a Droideka.
Yes, yeah.
That
riding
dude,
around.
he rolled around the corner, stunned me, and I just got murked every time.
Yes.
It was so cool to see that. That concept is beyond cool.
Yeah, it was. He was really cool, just like that little tech guy.
Yeah, he got a shield. It was cool.
Yeah, his like counterpart, the Mon Cal floating around, not near as cool.
I dunked on that dude
cooler.
every time.
Yeah, I
the little
did too.
healer. Yeah.
When he was coming around, I was, oh man, this guy's
Free
dead.
kill.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing that this guy can do. And that was one. I tried to play one character. Oh, it was a female, and I don't remember what her name was. But she was the fourth character you unlock, and she was a healer, would drop her flag on the ground that would be a circle of continuous healing, and then had a Bacta grenade, and her shots hit like a truck, but they took like 3 seconds to land, and she was just bad. Like, yeah. I don't know if the healers in this game are the way to go, really. I don't know if it's too fast-paced or the maps are too small or what it is, but the healers all specifically felt like they were way too easy to dunk on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like I've mentioned, there is continuity to this game. It's set after Return of the Jedi, during the New Republic era. There's no bearing on the story whatsoever. There is no story to this game.
Yeah. It's something that people watch on TV within universe.
Yeah, exactly. And so the maps, like we talked about, all of them are pretty good. Like, there's not one, not super experienced with like MOBAs and what makes a great MOBA map, but no map just frustrated me or anything like that.
The setting was really cool wherever you went.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite maps, though, Ewok Village, we already talked about, and then Vader's Castle.
Oh, I missed
That's
that
the one that you missed out on.
It.
Yeah, I played that one in ranked. Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah.
There was a ton of like open space where you could just drop and fall in lava a bunch, so you had to be really aware of where you were. It was a good map. There were all the like tanks that you see in Rogue One just around everywhere. There was a lot of really cool stuff. So they released it this season. I went and researched it on when this came out, and so it's like 3 days old, but it was really, really cool. They did a good job replicating Vader's castle.
Yeah.
And so there were other maps. There was a Death Star map. It had a lot of movement to it. I thought it was really good. It had the most like traditional lanes of MOBAs. They're like very clearly 3 lanes set out.
Yeah.
There was the Vandor rail yard, which that one had like a lot of interaction with the environment. Like a train could hit you if you were standing on a certain
that
spot.
Happened to me in one of the matches, the pod racers came in and ran me over.
Yeah,
I'm like, man.
And so I thought all of that was neat. They did again. They put a ton of work and time into the maps, and it was clear.
Yep.
And that's like the biggest selling point for this game is they did put a lot of time and care into the characters and maps. So we've talked about the characters themselves, lots of fun costumes, all kinds of fun costumes. The one that I saw specifically that I really, really loved was they had J3DI with a Kalani skin. And it looked super good. Oh, it looked really, really good.
That's cool.
That's kind of all the meat of this, like, this is what the game's like. This is what we experienced. And now we kind of have just like an actual review. Like, we got to talk about, at the end of the day, what this game's about. And I think that it's just hop in, see what it's all about, have fun for a few hours, hop out, like undownload it, which is what I do with a bunch of mobile games, is download a mobile game. Like I'm at the airport, I got a long layover, and I'm like, I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go to the App Store, type in games, download something, and play it until my flight. And then I'm going to delete it, never play it again. And I feel like that's a lot of what this game is, and it's hard for me to imagine a lot of people staying around and playing this game, only because it's not like this game does anything new. Like it is Overwatch and Valorant and every other MOBA out there. There's no pioneering like technology.
Yep. For me, it won't work on my phone.
Sure.
I have to use a spare phone to even play this game. And so I'm not going to do that.
Well, yeah. Got to keep a separate phone. Oh, don't worry, I got my Star Wars Hunter phone on me.
Yeah. But I mean, past that, I play a couple different other mobile games, but none that I really put a bunch of money into. Mm-hmm. Time, sure, throwing stuff here and about. It's hard to do a matchmaking game because your kid walks up to you, you're finished on the toilet or whatever. I've got to sit here and finish this match out. I don't want to do that. But that I think that's kind of being maybe a little bit ADD about it, because it is. Are the rank play? They're just 20 kills, right?
Yeah, it's like 5-minute timer, 20 kills on each side.
Yeah,
25. It was 25.
I don't know. It's hard to play games with little kids that can't be paused.
Sure.
Yeah, and not that I'm saying this game should be, but and I always call it like a sub game, going through and picking out how fantasizing about what your teams could be like, or how to equip your characters and stuff like that. That's something I think that's a lot of fun about this game that you get lost in pretty easy. Is, can I equip this? Or can I equip that? What if I teamed up with this guy? How could we exploit this? Stuff like that.
And
that's
I think
fun.
A lot of what you're talking about is totally right on the money. And it's why it released in the United States so late is because in other countries like India, where they first launched, if you're like a gamer or you're gaming, it is 100% acceptable to mean that you exclusively play mobile games. Like that is, you set aside time to go play a computer game. I'll set aside time to play on the Xbox, whatever. They set aside time to play phone games, whereas in the United States and a lot of other Western countries, they're time killer games. It's like we only play phone games when we don't have something else going on. And It's like I have 3 minutes to open my phone, click some buttons on Clash of Clans, get some armies started going, and then throw it
Have
away.
A nice day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just not the culture in some other countries. And so this game very clearly geared towards being a gaming game. Like you can sit there and grind this out for
the game
hours.
You play. I'm a Star Wars Hunters player.
Yes.
What game do you play?
Exactly.
I'm streaming this. I'm watching that stream. Yep.
Exactly. And then I think so. It's a good game. It's not going to, I don't think many people are going to play it for a really long time. But again, one of the things that I think is maybe the biggest hallmark for this is it's free. And if you want the Overwatch or Valorant experience, you can get it for free with this game, whereas those games cost money.
Yeah.
And this game has a mountain of content for a free game.
Yeah, it really does. That's easily accessible. Tons of different characters. Being able to level up those characters. And they do good from a perspective of, like I said, I was real tempted to buy that battle pass just to try this character out and stuff. And so they're good at being, if it can be called that way, they're good at tempting you to do that stuff, to buy and this and that. And so what that really translates to is like a quality product. That you wouldn't buy it if you thought it was junk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not junk. It's again, like we've said, it's good. It's a little bit of it's a little time killer.
Yep.
And that's what it's going to end up being for most people. But it was fun. We had a good time playing it. I'm glad we finally got around to talking about Star Wars Hunters. And if you're like a dedicated Star Wars Hunters player out there, get a hold of us and tell us we're wrong. Prove us wrong. Like, comment and be like, yeah, I have 500 hours in this game already. You can let us know. I'd love to see the level. You're probably the guy that 360 no-scoped me in that ranked match.
Probably so.
And so we appreciate you guys listening to this. We got a lot more show left. And so we're going to head on into our next segment, our Patreon-powered segment, which is the How the Force Works question.
That's not how the Force works.
All right, Colin. So today's question comes from our Patreon subscriber, Ben, and he asks, what is your dream Star Wars game?
So, I have played an immense amount of Star Wars games.
We have a couple episodes about it. We have a board games episode and a video games episode.
Yeah, well, I'm mainly talking video games. So in the past, my dream game that I played an insane amount was the expansion to the MMO Star Wars Galaxies. It was called Jump to Lightspeed, where they put in being able to customize your starfighter. And so think of almost any starfighter in the Star Wars universe. You could purchase a hull and equip and modify all the different aspects: engine, shields, capacitor, weapons, etc., and customize your ship, and fight against NPCs and other players. And it was challenging because if you had somebody like the Falcon come along, you just got murked because the guns were so, like, it was just like the movie. They shot you, you died if you're in a TIE fighter. So back then, what I really, really wanted, EA released, it's going to be a couple years ago, was Star Wars Squadrons. And that game, it was a first-person shooter that took place inside a starfighter frame. And so it was kind of clunky, it felt like. And like you couldn't customize the ships outside of like a boost ability or something like that.
Yeah, you could, a little bit of abilities and paint jobs, but that was it.
So my dream game is a starfighter with customizable ships, but it has atmospheric combat. See, that was one thing that was always lacking in that Galaxies. It was like you had to go to a space station and say, I want to land on Tatooine. I want to land on this place or that. You couldn't fly your starship from space down into the planet's atmosphere. And so in a lot of Star Wars, a lot of combat takes place in the planet's atmosphere. You launching the starfighters from a base and going after whatever, defending the base or something like that. So nobody's ever done that. If they have, it's been clunky and hasn't worked. And it might be too demanding with technology or something like that. I have no idea. But that's my dream Star Wars game.
Someone has done a little bit of that, and so you would be able to take a little bit of that technology. I think that you can finally enter from planet up to atmosphere on a game like that with No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky does that now after it's like 1.5 billion updates to make that game what it was touted to be. I think it finally is like halfway there, and one of the things is there's like atmospheric and space combat that are different. And the new Outlaws game, because it's so easy to take the opportunity to, you're leaving planet and entering space, loading screen, slap, because they, don't want to have to transition that. But Outlaws isn't going to do that either. Outlaws is a smooth transition up, but it's nothing like a shooter or a fighter. So they could maybe take that technology and move it in that direction.
I mean, I personally think the potential is there. Back in the day, they made that for that particular game. And just, you can get off on a tangent real easy about the quality of Star Wars games in general. To me, they're just little slices of this or that. You got puzzle solving adventure games with the Survivor and this and that. We're going to find out about Outlaws and see what exactly is going on there. You got MMOs like SWTOR. It was a WoW clone. There wasn't much different, and stuff from there. And it just was so grindy, that game was. And that game didn't make it. They spent an insane amount of money to make that game. I don't know if they ever made their money back. And I know the Battlefield games were very successful on the console parts of it. I just, it didn't seem like I want to live in the universe. I don't want to have Vader and Palpatine running around with stormtroopers and Luke Skywalker on the field with Han Solo jumping around, and it just seems too hero-y. I don't know. So probably an unfair criticism, but
that makes me want to ask you the same question you asked me a few minutes ago about this Hunters game. Would you have liked it better if it were the characters, or no? Do you like that there's original characters?
It's hard to tell. I mean, because this game is so different than that. It's not a shooter in the sense of I'm not tapping a mouse to pull the trigger. I'm just pointing my cursor at stuff and it shoots. It's strange.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
okay.
It's just too different to compare.
Yeah, I got you.
But more to your point, maybe, I don't know.
Sure, sure.
I kind of a side note, I'm over first-person shooters. I played them so much when they first came out, Doom and Quake and Half-Life and all that stuff. And shooters are, and this game too, Star Wars Hunters, is a maintained skill. If you don't, like golf or something, if you don't play it frequently and regularly, especially with games, they change too fast. And then, but the skills to actually, see what's going on, get shots on target are too high for me.
Sure.
I aged out.
I got you. Well, the Star Wars game that I would pitch, the stream game, you would not have that problem because this one would have an infinite amount of pause time. I love spreadsheet games, map games, like Paradox games. That is my jam. Those games rock. I love RTS games.
Yeah.
And so my pitch for a Star Wars game would be Empire at War, my favorite Star Wars game, perhaps the video game I have the most hours in as an RTS game, but on a much larger scale to where you're managing like multiple planetary battles at once. And you have, you're just the Empire. You're the rebellion as a character.
CIS, yeah.
Yeah, you're not just managing the one battle like you are in Empire at War where you've got all the various troops, but you zoom out and now there's like 8 planets where you're having to manage different levels of warfare. One planet you're doing a blockade run, one planet you're doing a land battle, one planet you're doing this kind of spec ops assault. Just a lot of different managed missions.
That game is called Master of Orion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. I had it over and it's old now, and it's not exactly what you're saying. It's dang close.
Yeah.
Because nobody can get their dream game, right?
Sure, of course.
But that'd be a fun project to make that into a Star Wars, like a fan game.
Yeah.
But it was exactly that almost.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's worth checking out.
Check it out.
Yeah. But I mean, is it on Steam?
I don't know. It's getting to be.
That's
20
what I'm. Yeah. Well,
it's getting to be 20 years old. I'm sure it is.
Well, it turns 20 next year. Star Wars Empire at War.
There you go. Yeah, so could be.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, hey, we really appreciate the question, Ben. We appreciate you guys subscribing over on Patreon. Please continue to send questions over here and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Star Wars Station. It keeps the podcast up and running. It keeps us going, and we've got a lot of super exciting stuff that we use that Patreon money for, and so we hope that you guys will continue to support us. You can start asking questions at the $1 tier. So head on over to patreon.com/Star Wars Station, and for $1, ask us whatever Star Wars questions are on your mind. Yep. We're going to now move on to our next segment. We've got 3 news stories today to talk about, and that's going to be in the HoloNet news.
You made the HoloNet.
All right, Colin, so we've got 3 news stories to talk about today. We're going to start with the kind of a downer news story first. So Lando, the TV show, then movie, then TV show, then we don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. Or we do know what it's going to be, is that it is canceled. Lando's no longer in development.
Oh, man.
It's been canceled. Justin Simeon, who was working on it, has gone on the record talking about how like the writing was on the wall. We knew it was going to get canceled, and how they had it. They had concept art, scripts, everything, and now it's just over.
Yeah, that's a shame. I did a solo podcast show, I think, when this
you did
was announced, and I was real excited for this. Lando is one of our favorite characters.
Yeah.
And what's his name that was slated to play him?
Donald Glover.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't keep all those names in my head. He does fantastic work with anything he does. So this was going to be, in Solo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so getting a continuation of that was just going to be over the top cool. Such a shame this is not going to make it. But this guy, Justin Simeon, his Haunted Mansion didn't do very well.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I've seen it. We watched.
Oh, really?
It. Yeah,
Oh.
we didn't go to the movie theater, but it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
it was just kind of silly.
Wasn't great. Okay, well, that's a shame. That's a big shame. And it's a real big shame that Lando is being cut, and so it's I was really looking forward to this game. Donald Glover did a great job in Solo. And this is like the spiritual successor to Solo of what we were going to get, that it's not really possible to get another story like that. And so it's a shame, but there's a lot more Star Wars projects on the way. This is just totally par for the course for them.
Well, I mean, let's start a petition. Let's rally behind this and let's get this thing made.
Yeah, get it revived.
Because as long as it's made right, I mean, it's got the right vibes and stuff, it should do well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how anything with Donald Glover is bad. Has he ever done anything that's not worthwhile?
Right. Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
I mean, and that's what upsets me the most is you combine him with Lando. That's just that right there alone sells it.
Yeah, seems like it'd make good money. Yeah, so it is. It's odd. It's odd that certain projects will get made and certain projects get canceled, but we don't know about the internal politics. So the next news story, Lando related, is the fact that Star Wars Outlaws, coming out in the end of this month, just 3 weeks away for Star Wars Outlaws, is going to have a season pass, as you do in 2024. Any video game that releases that's worth its salt is going to have a way that you can keep paying them more money. And the season pass roadmap has been announced. And so for fall of 2024, we're getting a Lando exclusive mission. And then spring of 2025, we're getting a Hondo Ohnaka exclusive mission. Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty cool. Which is also, this isn't the latest entry of Hondo in the Star Wars galaxy, because he's at Galaxy's Edge, so we know that he lives well into the Resistance era. But this is definitely, other than Galaxy's Edge, the latest entry for Hondo on the timeline. Yeah. Hondo between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
And it's going to be interesting to see what it does, because all the high adventure for this game looked a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and Hondo's in there mixed with everything. I'm sure Jabba the Hutt's going to get after him maybe now that he's back in the mix of things. So
yeah.
We might be able to see something go on.
Yeah, maybe Leia saved Hondo's neck because Jabba was after him, and then now the Hutt's dead, so he doesn't have to worry about it.
I'm talking about the other Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah. I know exactly.
I know
which
the
Jabba
timeline's
you're
no
talking
job.
about.
I'm just trying to make a dumb joke.
Yep. So the final news story we have is that we have a date for Star Wars Skeleton Crew. We have pictures that have been released for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and we have a lot of very healthy speculation that next week they're going to announce the Star Wars Skeleton Crew trailer at D23.
Man, I can't wait for this, see how this pops off and what people's reactions are going to be. And the biggest, every time we've ever talked about this, is that they're releasing it during the holidays, and so I'm real anxious to see like what kind of holiday centric this thing is. It just that they want the kids home to be drawn to this? Is it that simple, or is there something else to it?
Right, but because we've already talked about this, but the writer's strike and the actor's strike, they moved it a whole year to 2024 holiday instead of 2023. So it is tied to the holidays. They want it around there. December 3rd is the date that it'll be coming out, and so that's really exciting. And then we've just got to scroll through these pictures and kind of chat about them. The first one, we've got Jude Law standing around with the 4 kid characters, or sitting around in some starship. You've got a girl wearing kind of like a pseudo pilot jacket, like it looks like it kind of looks like Poe's jacket from The Force Awakens. Another girl character who we've already seen wearing a visor that looks just like Geordi LaForge from Star Trek, and then an Ortolan kid. We do see the Ortolan kid looks pretty good too.
Is that an actor in a costume, or is that a Muppet?
It's one of the two. It's not CGI for sure, which is awesome. I'm happy that it's not CGI.
Be happy either way, but I'm going to be super intrigued if it's a Muppet.
I hope it's a Muppet. Grogu's a Muppet. He's a famous Muppet, and so hopefully this one is a Muppet too.
Is Grogu a Muppet or an animatronic? He's both.
He's both.
He's both.
Yeah, he's both.
This thing's too big to be an animatronic.
Yeah, that's a robot. The next one, we've got the 2 female characters on a speeder. We've got the girl in the jacket and then the girl with the visor in the sidecar. It's a cool looking speeder. It's like, because it looks like a bike. Like it looks like it's giving off a lot.
Like they built it.
Yeah, it does look like they built it. It's giving off a lot of the Amblin vibes already that they were talking about wanting. Like this, every one of these pictures is like, oh yeah, that's kind of Goonies. That's like all of this is kind of Goonies.
Very cool.
The next one looks more Stranger Things than Goonies, but exact same thing. They're they have their little speeder bikes. It even has a basket on it. And the handlebars look like a bicycle's handlebars. Like, these are their bicycles. It's the Ortolan kid and the male kid who looks like the toothless kid from Stranger Things walking through a well-lit meadow. Next shot is all the kids around with flashlights looking at this decrepit droid. I mean, it's every still, and they did this on purpose, but every still looks like it's from an Amblin film.
Yeah, it
like
really
every
does.
single shot looks like that. So they've done a really good job at getting that. And then the final picture is a picture of Jude Law talking to one of the guard droids that pops out of Jabba the Hutt's door on Tatooine. We've already seen this one. This one has already been released, and so that's but he's got the kids standing behind him, and it's going to be this show. I'm excited about it. I get more and more excited as this show approaches because I just think it's going to be fun. After the Acolyte, the very serious show, it's going to be nice to get a little bit of a break with this probably kid-friendly, young adventure show.
Yeah, Star Wars Stranger Things seems akin to that, if you had to ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have some fear factor, but on some level, that's what Lucasfilm seems like they're aiming for.
Absolutely. So that wraps up our HoloNet news segment for this week. We appreciate you guys listening. We've got one more segment to go, and that segment is the Star Wars moment of the week.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, Colin. So we are on to our Star Wars moment of the week. Last segment of the podcast. And what is your Star Wars moment of the week?
So I'm pretty excited about this one. Cooper is just now where he can pay attention to what's on TV. He'll do it for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, maybe a whole episode of one of those little kid shows. But now I finally have a bona fide excuse to watch Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel kind of weird just sitting there watching by myself. That I want to watch this and see what goes on. I have a real problem with kid shows in a sense of, like, where I'm from, safety culture is a big deal, and you'll have this character wander off and get into trouble. And so it's not a real problem. It's a fake problem because I'm making a silly conversation. But it's like, this kid would be sanctioned. The show wouldn't exist because this kid's a doofus, right? Well, that's a fun little stupid tangent, but this Jedi Adventures is going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited for you, too, because I haven't watched it. We took a look at, like, the shorts that they released just to kind of get the vibe and see what it's about. We've tracked the news as the show progresses. They've had High Republic characters on there, which is just super cool. And so I'm excited to hear that. One of the news stories I did not put on for this week, just because the other three took precedence, was that they released a teaser for Season 2 with Nubs.
Okay, good.
And so, yeah.
He's a cool little character. He's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched it. I've just seen the little shorts that we've seen, and I've seen characters do silly things that are unrealistic. But it's a small child show.
Yeah, it's not a kid show. It's like it's a toddler show.
Yeah, and I need to pull the stick out of my butt, quit being a weirdo.
Right. Well, and if you can hopefully just strike while the iron's hot, get him going on Young Jedi Adventures.
Well,
soon as he ages out of that, it's time for
we're
Resistance.
Watching Bluey and Paw Patrol, and this Young Jedi Adventures, I think, is going to be the cherry on top.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. So my Star Wars moment of the week, very sad. This one is Star Wars moment of the week because I say it's Star Wars moment of the week. My pickup truck, which I've had since I was 15, is totally out of commission now. It is. They have told me that it is more to repair it than what it is worth. Now that's factoring in outrageous labor costs. But the reason this is a Star Wars moment of the week is because I have forever called that truck the Falcon after the Millennium Falcon. All my friends refer to it that way. If you're calling shotgun in my truck, you have to say Chewie instead of shotgun. And so now when I get a new car within the month, I'm going to have to figure out a new Star Wars name for my car. So I'm sad to be retiring the Falcon, but it is not. I can't hold this thing together with duct tape like Han does. I mean, it is done.
Well, you need to go find a Wookiee best friend to come fix it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I need one of those. So it's a bummer, but that is my Star Wars moment of the week.
That is a bummer. You always hate to see something that old and just be put out in the field, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the plan is this is not Star Wars related. I'm going to fix the brakes, which is what's really wrong with it, and then try to sell it for what I can get for it, which, get a couple $1,000s for it.
Yeah, what a shame.
Yeah. Very sad, very sad. But that wraps up our podcast for this week. We appreciate you guys listening. Short little episode about Star Wars Hunters. Go play it. A couple hours, put an hour or two into there, and let us know what you think. Let us know if we're off base and you love it and it's your new favorite video game, or if you think what we said was right. You can comment that. You can DM us on Instagram, all kinds of stuff. We're all over social media, so get a hold of us any way you want. You can find the Discord that we have at the link in the podcast. You can join that, talk Star Wars, have chats on there with everyone there. You can find us on Instagram, starwars.station. We post memes over there. Feel free to DM us. We love chatting with our fans on there. We're on Twitter, SW_station, posting hot takes when they come up. And we're on Twitch. Our Twitch is popping off with Warhammer content right now, and soon it will have Star Wars content. As soon as Outlaws drops, I'll be streaming that whole game just like I did Survivor. Colin will be streaming some of it too, and so we hope you guys will check us out there.
Yep. The gaming front is massive. Right at the end of August and start of September, there's Outlaws, Space Marine 2.
Indiana Jones and the Circle comes out in October.
Not related, but World of Warcraft has their expansion they're fixing to come out with. Just a lot on the plate for this holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, we're all over the internet. We have a website, so if you want to head to our website, StarWarsStationPodcast.com, check us out there. We have a Patreon. We've mentioned it already, but check us out at patreon.com/StarWarsStation, where you can find exclusive podcasts, our actual live play RPG podcast. You can find stickers and shirts and all kinds of stuff over there. So go check that out. And you can help us the most by heading to Apple, Spotify, leaving a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, liking, subscribing, those are all giant benefits to help us out. When you do those things, it is huge for us. So please continue to do those things. We appreciate your engagement. We appreciate your listenership. We appreciate your viewership. And we appreciate you staying wizard.